time. So for these same folks who say that it cannot be done, they need to get out of the way and let those of us who can do it get it done. Hello. So Iowa, we need you to come through. We need you to go caucus. We need you to bring some folks with you to caucus. And we are going to show the elites in this country how it is done in the streets. Hello, somebody. Oh no, we're going to get this done. We're going to do it for ourselves and for generations yet unborn. Not radical, but right on time. And the people who don't understand this, that's okay. We're going to stand up for them too. Time.
The campaigns are making their final pitches in Iowa because in one day, less than a day, less than 24 hours, I'm so excited, Iowa finally does their caucus. And the beauty of this, we can see whether or not the polling that has been coming out matches up with the results in Iowa. We don't have to necessarily focus on polling anymore. We have actual data, actual results that we can look at, scrutinize, and talk about. I'm excited about it. You have no idea. This is the first election where I feel like I'm part of the presidential election itself, either reporting on the show that, at Sputnik or here. In both cases, it feels like I'm part of this. So I'm extremely excited about this campaign. That was Miss Turner. And I said before, I want Miss Turner to be the hype woman at my funeral because that woman is awesome and brings a certain amount of energy and pizzazz to the position as one of Sanders' lieutenants. Iowa is going to be a bit strange. Now, I don't mean strange in the sense of the way they're running the campaign, meaning it's a caucus, more so in the way they're going to report the results. Because of what was taking place in 2016, where the Sanders folks bitched, moaned, and complained that it was a certain degree of malfeasance in the way that the results were tallied. I think Hillary got 49.8, Sanders got 49.6, that they made this process more transparent. Now, because Iowa is a caucus, if a candidate doesn't get the 15% threshold, those people can separate and go to somebody else. So think of it as you have one vote, and then you have a second vote for the people who want to move into the candidates, and then you give the final total vote. The final total vote is the number of delegates that have been petitioned to the various people. Now, this year, they're going to get all three. So you're going to get to see the raw vote, meaning the people in caucus make their vote. That's the original vote. If nothing changes from there, whatever that number is, are the number of people who say, yeah, these are the people who we want. Now, Sanders made the point that if this is raw vote, it says we won this, we're going to tout that as a victory. Now, the reason they're touting that as a victory is because when people made their votes, we're the guy that they voted for. But that's not the final delegate math. The final delegate math allows people to reshuffle, meaning that despite winning the raw vote, he may lose it depending on the number of people who vote for the other candidates that just kind of move to somebody like Joe Biden. And then you get to see the final total. Now, my hope is Sanders blows this out the water, so he wins all three. There's no partitioning of anything. He just gets up and says, I won! And he holds up some kind of trophy or something like that. That's what I want. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that they swarm that place in regards to caucusing for Sanders. But I want to talk about my predictions for what's going to happen tomorrow. Because this could be closer than what the polling is kind of showing. Again, because I was a caucus, and whatever those numbers are now, those numbers could potentially change at the moment. One of those, some of those people not getting up to snuff in regards to the results. And I want to give my predictions on what I think the raw vote is going to be and what I think the shuffling is going to end up being. Welcome to a late night soapbox. I have several stories that I want to do because some stuff just broke tonight that is mind-blowing. Let's talk about this one first. Welcome to the soapbox. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is a late night soapbox. Guys, we had a great time at the contributor appreciation episode earlier today. And like and share this video, of course. You can always support the channel through PayPal, Patreon, of course. So let's do the news. I'm up, I'm wide awake. I have to be up early in the morning because I'm going to be on fault lines at the station. I've been doing double duty between Fault Lines and my own show with Political Misfits. We're still in dry runs. I am trying to get the dry runs finished, but we still have work to do. So, but nevertheless, I've been doing double duty and the show also. So this has been an extremely busy weekend. This is Sanders at his campaign event. Sanders threw a concert. That's what was going on with Sanders. And by the way, Joe Biden had 1,000 people showing up at his rally. That was the largest rally that Joe Biden has had. I think in Iowa, but at least for a very long time that I've been watching the Biden campaign. So I don't know what they had to do to get those people there, but they got those people there to get that photo shoot. But Sanders has been throwing rock concerts in Iowa. So this is him making his last pitch.
It is the beginning of the moment when we tell the billionaire class and the 1%, this country belongs to all of us, not just a few. So tomorrow night is the beginning.
And that's been his pitch. All of us, not just some of us, meaning that some of us being 1%. Sanders has stuck to that message for the last, 30 years, 40 years? And because of, I would say, the time that we're in, it's apt. Meaning the pitch that he's making, if people are feeling, no, I like my job, I think the world is going pretty great, then that pitch has a harder time to work. You can't just stand up and scream revolution at a time where people think you don't necessarily need that. But the moment that you've eroded confidence in the system that you operate, the moment that you get more people with shuffled into poverty and feeling like they've been in a dead-end job, feeling like the governmental input apparatus doesn't pay attention to them, well, that argument that socialist is making start to make more sense. Yeah, that guy knows what the fuck he's talking about. I feel him on that. Why? Because it burns in them. They can feel it. It's something that's affecting them in almost material way. That when he's talking about it, it fits. It fits in a way where people begin to change their minds in regards to what they want. Here's another one with Sanders' closing arguments.
Bring those people you haven't talked to in years to the caucus. Bring your friends. Bring your distant cousins. Bring those people you haven't talked to in years, and get them out to the caucus. Because here is the simple political truth. And I say this all over the state, and I believe it to be true. If the turnout tomorrow night is low, we're going to lose. If the turnout is high, we're going to win. So our job together is to create the highest turnout in the history of the Iowa caucus.
Now, I've said on more than one occasion that is literally his strategy. Now, they call it risky. I argue that is the only strategy, Sanders, that would work. Meaning, you may have a lot of people in the Democratic Party, for the most part, that may be more establishment types, but you also may get an influx of people who are either independents and who, for the most part, are far to the left, but still vote Democrat. If those people come out and vote Sanders, keep in mind you had 50% of the population in the last presidential election that didn't vote at all. Now, what if you get 5% of that demographic that didn't vote? That's a landslide. That plan of expanding the electorate makes all the sense in the world. If the reason that 50% don't vote is because they believe that my vote doesn't count, my vote doesn't matter, none of what they do positively affects me in my circumstance, so what do I care? Now, if that's the reason that 50% doesn't vote, let's say it's the reason 15% don't vote. This argument, where he's talking about things that materially affects each and every person, wins. That argument gets people out to vote. It gets people out to get into a certain degree of activism, especially if you believe him. Meaning, if you think he's authentic and you think to yourself, all of these other politicians are entirely against him, and the only thing that he's arguing for is health care for everybody and school for everybody. And they're against that. Expansion of Social Security. These are the things that he's arguing about. The entire Democratic establishment is against him on it. And you look at the guy and say, well, they're against him on it. Maybe he's authentic about it. And they look back, and for 40 years, he's been talking about the same thing. All right, I believe him. I think he really wants to do this. Whether he can get it done or not, he wants to do it. And that will materially benefit me. So yes, I was part of the 50% that didn't vote. But now I'm going to get into the political process. If you only get 5% of those people, that's a landslide. That's his argument. I can get those people into the race. I can get those people, for the most part, that the Democratic Party has abandoned. I can pull them into the fold and get them to win this process. He's absolutely right. If he has a big turnout tomorrow, he wins. If there's a low turnout, he's going to lose. Because again, his strategy is building a movement of sorts. Joe Biden has also been making his closing arguments. And to be fair to Joe Biden, somebody stood up and asked Joe Biden about his girlfriend, saying, my girlfriend left me. And Joe Biden told the guy, he says, yeah, I can kind of see why she left you, after the guy just wouldn't sit down. But, right here. Damn, I can't find it. Joe Biden was putting his hands on the guy. Again, poking the guy in the chest at one of the other rallies. Apparently, the guy who he was poking in the chest was a friend of my co-host. And he was like, dude, look at Joe Biden. He's hitting this guy again. He's putting his hands on this guy again. All right, I can't find that particular video. But these guys are making their closing arguments. Now, oh, here it is. Joe Biden's closing argument.
For the facts, the game. For the facts, the game. Working my whole life.
The poking, man, the putting your hands on people. For some reason, that feels so bad to me. It's one thing if I'm doing it and we're having a gentle conversation. It's kind of a certain intimacy about it. Not necessarily that I'm trying to get some, but more so just an intimacy, a human emotional intimacy. That's one thing. Like, that touch makes sense. And the touch is somewhat pleasing in the fact that it makes sense because you two are binding. But if you're angry at me, and you touch me at all, that's awkward for me. I don't want you touching me if you're angry at me. Certainly if you're pissed off and you're trying to get across that you're pissed off in this kind of weird passive aggressive way where it's like, I hate this motherfucker because he's asking me this question, so I'm just going to poke him in the chest because that's the most I can do without getting in trouble. And he's been doing that over and over and over again. It's a problem. You shouldn't put your hands on people, especially when you're fucking losing it. So that's Biden's closing argument. Look, let's talk about what the polling looks like right now in Iowa, because I'm going to explain why I'm going to talk about it in this particular way. This is Iowa. Sanders, 24.2, Biden, 20.2. It's a 4-point, and this is based on an aggregate of all of the polling that has come out. The latest polls, Sanders, 28, Biden, 21. Sanders, 29 to Biden's 15. Monmouth, for some reason, is always worse than Sanders, but 23 to 20 on Biden. Here's another one, USA Today, but the one below that, 25 to 17. So in the majority of these polls, Sanders is winning, and not to mention the aggregate and the averages, so forth, he's winning. But this is not a huge margin between Biden and Sanders in this case. Buttigieg has fallen down to 16.4 and Warren to 15.6. Now, both of these are enough for delegates. That's assuming that those numbers come out that way. I honestly think the Sanders is going to get more people than they're forecasting. It's just his strategy on this. And he seems to have a certain amount of energy about himself in doing this campaign. So let's say for the moment that that's true. That may affect some of the other numbers going down the line. But let's say Sanders goes into this with an advantage. Meaning the first raw vote comes out with Sanders at a number that's higher than Joe Biden's, but maybe not dramatically higher than Joe Biden's. 4 points, 5 points. Now, if Warren gets 15.6, meaning she gets enough for delegates, but it's at the very bottom for delegates. Let's say she doesn't get that number, and let's say she does. If she does get her delegates, then the shuffle becomes the difference between Klobuchar, Yang, Steyer, Gabbard, in this race. Now, when you're looking at Morning Consult, Biden supporters go to Sanders. Warren supporters go to Sanders. Sanders supporters go to Warren. All right. And Buttigieg supporters go to Biden. Bloomberg supporters go to Biden. Here's the catch. If Warren gets delegates, then when they go for the second round of voting, the other candidates in the list gets the chance to change to a different candidate. But if Warren doesn't get her delegates, then those delegates that Warren was going to get, which may be in double digits, will most likely go to Sanders. But if she does get her delegates and they don't go to Sanders, then Sanders can't take advantage of Warren. I made this video, I think it was a while ago, where I made the point that this is somewhat of a weakness of Sanders on this. Because when you look at the group, these two people aren't getting out of the race. Meaning Joe Biden is not going anywhere, and Elizabeth Warren most likely is not going anywhere anytime soon. However, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, they may be out of the race soon, because I don't know what Klobuchar is even doing in this race. But those two people may fall away. And if Klobuchar and Buttigieg fall out of the race, who do you think those people are going to go to? Biden. Some of the Buttigieg supporters may go to Warren, but they will also go to Biden. He's not going to get a huge number of those voters for Klobuchar or for Buttigieg. All right, that's a problem. Which means that Sanders, whatever he's doing in the polling, has to exceed a certain amount where he has enough distance. So when these other people fall out of the race, that he still retains a certain advantage over Biden. This is why I think Biden is still the most dangerous person in this race for Sanders. In Warren's case, Warren is going to stay in the race, meaning every race that she's in, the majority of her supporters, if she wasn't in the race, will go to Sanders. Every race that she's in, and she's taking delegates, those are delegates that Sanders would have otherwise won. Keep that in mind, which is why I'm saying Warren wants big structural change. She got out of the race. She's hurting the guy. They're not friends. So race after race after race that Warren stays in, the largest contingent of voters that Sanders could get in this race is with Warren out of the race. But because Warren is in the race, those supporters are locked in her camp. Now, those supporters may leave Warren when they realize, oh my God, we're hurting the guy that actually is the real thing. But if they don't, then again, this is something that eats into Sanders' numbers, while the other weaker candidates in the race effectively would just go to Joe Biden. That is a massive problem. That fucks with me. Because personally, I think, look, Sanders can win this. And it's like, well, what would it take Sanders to lose this? Well, it would take the other candidates getting out of the race and their supporters going to Joe Biden. And the people who basically would support Sanders, maybe a Yang, maybe a Tulsi Gabbard, meaning their supporters, well, they're not getting huge numbers in these races. I mean, Yang has been getting decent numbers, but Gabbard, not so much. Effectively, the bell around Sanders is Elizabeth Warren. She's locking up a large contingent of his supporters. The other supporters, when they fall out of the race, they're just going to go to Joe Biden. That's my issue. That's my concern. But Sanders could pull in a lead where it matters less, if you know what I mean. So that's not determinative. It's more so just a looming threat. But if that holds true for Iowa, we can see what that means in real life. Meaning Iowa could be a test case. When Iowa gets the second round supporters, we get to see, well, where do those people go if their candidate is not measuring up? Well, Iowa's literally going to be that way in the caucus. So let's say for the moment Sanders has a 5-point lead. Let's be generous. And let's say Warren gets her votes. Okay. Buttigieg gets his votes. Okay. You have Klobuchar, Yang, Steyer, Gabbard. Who are they going to go to in the second round? Yang and Gabbard. Yang's people may just leave. But if they don't leave, maybe a portion will go to Sanders. Gabbard supporters may go to Sanders. Who is Steyer supporters going to go to? That's unclear, right? I mean, Steyer's main thing is climate, and the other person with the climate plan is Sanders. Those people may go to Sanders, but those people may also go to Biden. It's hard to know. It depends on what they're voting for him for. But Klobuchar is pulling 8 points in Iowa. Yang is pulling only 3. Gabbard is pulling only 1. So let's say Sanders takes all of those voters, and let's say the other voters who's going for Klobuchar split between Warren and maybe Biden, or Warren and Buttigieg, or Warren, Buttigieg, and Biden. Sanders would have to bring in so much support that it overcomes these other groups lumping into Joe Biden at the end. If Warren is in this, believe it or not, Warren remaining in this hurts him because those supporters would be the ones going to Sanders. Let's say Warren didn't get her delegates, and her delegates could split and move to someone else. If those delegates are like the national delegates, meaning if it's like the basic trend of her supporters going to Sanders, then she would get the lion's share of those supporters. And that in and of itself may be enough to overcome the other people shuffling around in the race. The determining factor in this, believe it or not, can be whether Warren could get the basic requirements for delegate, where her supporters don't have to flutter about. If she does that, Sanders has to get enough votes to overcome all of the other people like Klobuchar that's not going to get their delegates, and then they lump in Joe Biden. I think that's why Sanders said when the raw vote comes out, they're going to celebrate. Because they know and they understand that there are a lot of other people, Klobuchar included, Steyer included, Buttigieg, that could literally go to Joe Biden and put him over the finish line, depending on how this poll goes up or how the election turns out. So it's odd. Yes, Sanders has the mainstay of support right now, currently, if you take a raw vote. But that's not the way they distribute the delegates. And you have to be wary of Klobuchar because she has this huge amount of delegates, and those delegates will most likely go either Biden or Warren. And not to mention Steyer. So we'll see. I mean, ultimately, we're stuck in this thing of, I guess, not knowing entirely. And a lot of it is going to depend on whether Buttigieg and Warren gets the 15 points. If Buttigieg doesn't get these votes, Buttigieg can pack up his campaign. He needs to just go home at that point. But Buttigieg supporters may go to Joe Biden and Warren. Notice I'm saying a lot of Joe Biden and Warren, and I'm not saying much of Sanders, because most of Sanders supporters are either with Yang or with Gabbard, again, not high numbers, or with Warren, who may get enough so those delegates don't split off. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. We don't know. We will see tomorrow. The catch here, though, and the thing that's most important is you have a pathway to actually winning this. You have a pathway to taking Iowa. Yes, the second round vote looks a little treacherous at this moment, but that doesn't necessarily mean it would turn out exactly in those ways. For all we know, Warren doesn't get the 15 points. And when she does get the 15, those voters go lump into Sanders' camp. Yang voters, Gabbard voters may lump into Sanders. Now, the people who may lump into Biden, considering whether Buttigieg gets his 15, you might have a Klobuchar, which has 8 points, which may lump into either Warren and Sanders, or, will lump into Joe Biden. The thing is, I think a lot of these people would just lump into Biden. Again, it depends on why they're voting. If the Klobuchar people are voting because she's a woman, they may go to Warren. Or you may even have a situation where Warren gets enough in the second round to actually get delegates. The Iowa caucus is a free-for-all, but we'll see. Sanders is betting he's going to have so many people there that he's going to overwhelm the process. I hope he's right. I totally hope he's right. But I think Sanders wins it in the raw vote. I think he wins it by pretty decent margins in the raw vote. I think when the people shuffle around, Klobuchar's people are going to go to Biden, potentially Warren. I think Yang's people are either going to go home or go to Sanders. I think Gabbard's people are going to go to Sanders, so that's awesome. The wild card here is Warren. Whether Warren gets her 15 or not, if she doesn't, those people are going to go to Sanders in a decent margin. If she does, then Warren is going to eat up support that would have otherwise went to Sanders. So that one is hard to foresee. But despite whether Warren gets her 15 or not, Sanders still has a pathway to win it if he overwhelms the process with supporters. And he gets his theory of the case ends up being right. I can overwhelm this process by bringing in a huge amount of support. If anybody could do it, he could. So, but I do think Sanders wins the raw vote. And I would even go out on a limb, Mr. Sanders takes the main vote at the very end with the number of delegates. Yes, I'm biased, but just because I'm biased doesn't necessarily mean I'm wrong. I mean, my theory of the case is that he brings more people into the process, and that the Klobuchars of the world and so forth, well, yes, they're going to go to Biden, but they may even split with Warren on that. It's hard to know what the splits are going to be, and the splits are going to be the thing that, I guess, make the determination on who actually takes it. But this one, it feels like there's everybody against him. The only people, for the most part, that he would get if people dropped out of the race are Biden and Warren, the two people who won't be dropping out of the race anytime soon. That's a weakness, but that's not a weakness he can do anything about. That's more so him running against the entirety of the Democratic Party. And so the entirety of the Democratic Party is lumping behind the people who are just not him. This was something he was always going to have to confront when he was running in the race. So there's nothing to do about that. The only way he can win it is to overwhelm the process with his supporters. Let me see. There's super chats. Jamal, audio is making your voice really low pitch. Slow down. Like, oh, is it? Let's see. All right. I might have to redo this video. 10. Amir C did leave a message. All right. I'm going to have to check the video. I'm sorry. I'll have to check it. Oh, better? Okay. Redo the whole video. Well, it sounds right. I might have to redo the entire video. This video is 26 minutes. Read the message. Finally read the message about the audio. Yeah. Well, I don't see the message when I'm doing my spiel. I tend to look at it afterwards. Yeah, I tend to look at it afterwards. Yeah, like clicking to. Okay. Apparently this video was fucked up. God damn it. I'm gonna have to redo this video. Alright. Well, let me end this here, because I've made my point. I can understand you. The sound seems a bit funny. Well, that's what they're saying. Always check your sound. Well, usually there's no issue with the sound. Let me see. It was pretty low, but I don't know if you have to redo it. I'll have to check it. Well, actually, I trust you on this one, Gnome, because last time when the video was fucked up, you was like, dude, you got to redo the shit. That shit was fucked up. So if you're saying that it was understandable, but it wasn't horrible, I'll take your word for it. Let me see. Let me check this part. Give me 1 second. All right. I'm going to kill this video, and I'm going to check it to ensure that it's at the very least understandable. But I'll be good at my basic point. Iowa is going to be fascinating this year. I'm excited as all hell to see what happens, because I think it's going to be this kind of test case on how to support if Sanders, at the very least, is right on his theory of the case that he can expand the electorate. It's also going to be a test case to see who lumps in the who when people start getting out of the race. Because, again, in Iowa, if you don't make points, you can lump into somebody else. So, all of that is going to be seen tomorrow. We're not going to have to just be looking at polls. Like, all right, this poll says this. It's like, dude, you put too much faith in polls. It's like, I don't put faith in polls. I put faith in the trends. Well, what's the difference? Well, the trends are across a multiple line, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have to do that anymore. We could, at the very least, get into... yeah, we can get into the actual... information. Alright guys, like, share, and subscribe, which you might not be able to do because I'm probably gonna kill this if it comes off too weird.